Hello, friends. I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. I'm going through a project. We have discussed the possibility of me not putting out like a fiction work this year. Context, in January, I committed to publishing a book this year. I also made it very clear that the goal was to publish a book, not write a book. There's a difference. Should I choose to write a book this year and publish it? Great. But the goal was to publish a book. I started working on a fiction piece. I like it, and I'm continuing to work on it, but it is a very slow going, and it's definitely not going to be done this year. So there's no way I'm going to publish that. So we have discussed the possibility of me publishing somebody else's work, either looking for a book to publish or using some public domain works as a basis for a book. But the idea that I'm most leaning towards is this idea, which is publishing a collection of poetry that I've written in my life. And so going back through, I showed you guys probably last year, maybe even the year before, this folder. This folder contains handwritten and typed versions of a whole bunch of poems that I wrote in my 20s. This was my, this was an era of my life where I was thinking I was going to be something special, So this is all ego. This is just such a massive amount of ego contained here, and none of it is very good. I read one to you a while ago. You'd have to go back and find it, but this was an idea I had long ago to publish like a coffee table book. Oh, there's pictures of me in the Marines. To publish a coffee table book of me, this stuff. And the idea was to take pictures of the handwritten stuff and then publish that alongside the real book. So I read one of those. That material is somewhat embarrassing for me now. If I looking at the stuff that I write today, this year, whatever, versus that, that's extremely juvenile. But this, I dug this out. This is book number 2 of my teenage year poetry collections. I'd never dated anything. I didn't date my books. There's names and addresses in here. This is interesting. But anyway, this was from, I know when this was because of some of the material that's in here. So I would say I started this probably the winter, or definitely the winter of 94, 95. So this would have been my sophomore year in high school that I carried this book around. On the front of it, you will see, for some reason, I have the 4 symbols from the various members of Led Zeppelin, and I wrote their names so I could remember who was who. I don't know what I was doing. Whatever. Led Zeppelin has nothing to do with anything that's in here. But it was just me being edgy teen, right? So I carried this around, in fact, the way I'm holding it right now, there's a crease in here that is this is the way I hold things. So anyway, I carried this around for many, many years, and I wrote poetry in here. And it's terrible. And I'm going to start the book with this. If I do this project, which I'm feeling like I will, I've written 2 or 3 essays, one, like the opening essay of the book, the opening essay of the juvenilia section. I have ideas. It's not just going to be poetry. Oh, there's little drawings. This is one of my characters that I used to draw a lot, the matchstick. I'll probably put stuff like that in there. So it's not going to be strictly a book of poetry. It's going to be kind of a art piece where I'll have photographs and pictures, or photographs, poetry, essays, that kind of thing. But anyway, I thought I would read you this poem. Um, the first three poems in this book are going to be published in this piece. Maybe the first four. I haven't decided, but these are my Juvenilia series of poems that are just bad, and I want to demonstrate how bad these are. Maybe these will make decent song lyrics or something, but remember, so I was in a very dark time in my life when I wrote this stuff. It was not great, and I was angsty. I was probably doing drugs. I was a teenager with raging hormones and confused emotions, and I was bullied, and I was awkward. And so this is semi-reflective of that. This poem is called Eno. For whatever reason, in the beginning of this book, I wrote all the names backwards, and in various ways of writing names backwards, reversing the shape of the characters, that sort of thing. Here we go. So this is one spelled backwards. Oh, this is so embarrassing. Blackness, death, the dark of night, terror, shrieking, full of fright. Burning, angel, devil's kiss, tempered fever, simple bliss. Fear, power, evil night, Satan's bedrooms full of sights. Fire burning, demons rise, shaking ground, an angel dies. Sinful hatred, killing free, play with a demon inside of me. Lucifer smile full of fear, children shriek, they cannot hear. Cursed angel, wings of fire, rightful sinner, perfect liar, toying with Satan's brain, leaves us with nothing but pain. The hell is that? What? Who is this kid? I can tell you, this particular poem, reading this out loud, this is literally the first time I've read this. I didn't read this when I found this book. It's the first time I've read this out loud. I remember writing this poem, and this came from, the inspiration for this was a Nine Inch Nails song. And I don't remember which one, but I got the imagery in my head of maybe the video from that song or something like that as I was reading this. That's bad. But I think that it sets a good stage. The idea of this project will be, here's different eras of my life and how I chose to represent those eras in words. And I could tell you this book probably spans 2 years, maybe a year and a half. I never filled this one up, and it doesn't get better. It's all this really basic, super simple word choice, very bad measures, just not good. One of these poems I found in my 1997 high school literary magazine called Scratches. The third poem in an edited version got added in here, and it's so bad. So I thought what I would do today is read you something that I've written recently, and contrast. And you tell me, is this any different? This poem has no title. It's just something that happened in my head, and I wrote it down. And it's very short and sweet, right? Sweet? I don't know if it's sweet. You weren't, I was, so be it. Whatever passed between us came back around to haunt my days, nights, weeks, months, everything. As it once was, can never be again. Alone? Happy? You weren't, but I was. I think that's it. I think that's a demonstration, right? The stuff that I write these days is not this metered, has to rhyme, weird. It's more, I don't know, interesting in my opinion. But the overall theme of all of this, maybe you can tell from me reading both of these out loud, I've never studied poetry. I have no context for any of this. I listen to music. That would be the context that I have. I don't read poetry. I don't study poetry. I don't know iambic measure. I don't know any of that stuff. I never cared. It was just, I'm writing this, I think maybe I've read 3 books of poetry in my life. 2 of them were one of my early 20s influences, the stuff that was in that folder. And I'll talk about that in this. That's one of the essays in the book. But I think it's going to be, if nothing else, it's going to be laughable. Maybe I'll redeem it by the end of the book. But publishing some of this teenage garbage, man, it feels. I expose myself on this show a lot. This feels even worse. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know sounds smart is verdant. It is an adjective meaning lush with trees, bushes, ferns, and other green foliage. With its careful mix of plants, the Whittington's formal garden remains verdant year-round. Verdant, V-E-R-D-A-N-T. That's not unusual. That's not a particularly smart word. I think that's just a word.